Okay, so welcome back to Move Over Martha. Today we are going to be doing some stained glass Valentine cookies. I usually do this for Christmas, and I make them like stars with different colored little nonpareils on the edges. But we're switching it up today. We're going to do a Valentine style, and we're going to do a heart. So I'm going to go over the ingredients you need and the tools that you need to do this, and then I'll show you how to roll it out and put it in the oven, etc. So I'm sorry if I talk a lot. Some people say, oh, you talk too much, but this is me. I like to explain things really clearly so that when someone goes to do it, and I like to explain all my trial and errors in the past so that people get it and you're not wasting your time doing stuff. So if I talk too much, I apologize, but I don't like doing a tutorial and going to do it and then realizing that they left out a size or an ingredient, and then you're kind of left in the wind hanging as to what to do. So here we go. You need some little sugar crystals. I usually use the nonpareils, but I had a cookie party at the house yesterday and they got used up. So we're going to just use this like little sugar crystals. You'll need some Wilton cookie icing, or you can just use royal icing. That's what this is in the jar. You need a rolling pin, parchment paper, some cookie cutters. You need kind of like nesting ones, not even nesting, but one that's smaller than the bigger one quite a bit, so that you'll see the difference in the cookie. You'll need some finely ground up Jolly Rancher candy. I did try to use cotton candy floss yesterday, and for some reason it never melted in the oven. So back to the Jolly Rancher we go. I put it in this little thing. I also have a KitchenAid one that does it super fine, like a dust. So if you have a little KitchenAid processor like this, that's the best one to use. I'm just using this for now, and it does do it, but it's a little bit bigger, the crystals, but it should be fine. If you don't have a chopper, which these are like 10 or 15, 20 bucks max, you can buy one. You can use a Jolly Rancher in like a solid form, but you need to like cut it in half or 3/4. If you use the whole Jolly Rancher, it's probably way too much and it's going to overflow out of your little well. So I say just grind it up this way. You can just use a tablespoon. So next we need some sugar cookie dough. I have mine here. This is what I have left over from the party. I just wrapped it in some saran wrap and stuck it in the fridge. But we'll go over the ingredients. For the sugar cookie mix, you need 4 cups of flour, a half a teaspoon of salt, a cup of unsalted butter, 2 sticks, and that should be room temperature, so when you go to beat it, it mixes up well. You need 2 cups granulated sugar, 2 large eggs, and 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. You're going to bake this on 350 degrees for 16 minutes if you have a 1/4 inch thick cookie. I like to use a rolling pin with the bands on the end for when you're rolling it out. The cookie is going to have even consistency. That is key to making sugar cookies. The other key is to use a recipe that does not call for baking soda. The baking soda makes the cookie rise, and that's what makes it lose its shape. So then it's kind of misformed when you pull it out of the oven and it cools to decorate it. This cookie dough recipe stays exactly to its shape. So when you start putting them on the tray, you're going to have all of them lined up tightly together. You can bake quite a bit more cookies than if you didn't, because they're going to swell up and kind of ooze out and possibly into each other. With this, they don't lose their shape, so you can fit maximum amount of cookies on a cookie sheet. So that's key for the ingredients. If you use any other cookie dough recipe besides mine, which is Sweet Danny B's, you can put your cookie sheet underneath and roll it onto the cookie sheet and then cut it out. You're probably not going to get as many on a cookie sheet, but you will pull off the excess, and you just leave it on the cookie sheet. So there's no trying to move it with the spatula. That's when a lot of accidents happen, and they do lose their shape when you try to pick them up with a spatula to move them on. So just use parchment paper. You can cut it out and either slide it over to the cookie sheet or just lay the parchment on. I don't bake cookies anymore without parchment paper because it saves from cleaning the cookie trays and getting things stuck on it. You just pull this off, throw it in the garbage, and then your cookies bake a lot nicer also on this. So I'm going to go ahead and set the camera on the tripod, and then we're going to go over rolling out some basic dough. Okay, so I'm back. So here in cookie baking world, parchment paper is like my best friend. I have laid out my parchment paper. My dough, I make my dough and use it right then and there. A lot of recipes, even Sweet Danny B says, refrigerate it overnight, use it the next day. I don't have time for that. Like sometimes I want to bake cookies on a whim and I want to bake it right after I've made my dough. I can't wait till the next day. Or I forgot to make my dough to make the cookies on Friday. I make my dough, use it right then and there. I don't even use it cold. I like it room temperature and normal because I'm not like killing myself rolling the dough out because it's so stiff it's been in the fridge. So here we go. I use it room temperature. I don't even use flour. With this Wilton silicone pin, it's really for fondant, but I use it for dough. And these pins, I don't even have to use flour. It doesn't even stick. It's really a wonderful thing. So here I start rolling it out. Sorry if the camera is jerking. It's kind of hard to do this and talk and do everything at the same time. So what I do is when I start rolling, I sprinkle a little water on the counter and then lay my parchment so that this paper isn't really rolling and sliding around as I'm rolling out the dough, and it makes it a little stable. I start rolling one way and I turn my paper and then I roll this way. And you know that your dough is rolled out enough when you see the dough doesn't really move anymore, and a lot of times when it starts sticking to the pin is usually when it's rolled out thin enough. So I'll just usually roll it one more time the opposite. See how it pulled up? I'll roll it one more time the opposite way, and then I know that I'm pretty done. So what I'm going to do is cut my cookie out, and I'm going to cut my center out and pull my insides out, and then pull my extra all around. Now this cookie dough is really fantastic dough in the fact that I'm going to be able to pick this cookie up and move it to the sheet. Like I said, I want to get maximum on here, and because I'm using this dough and it is fabulous, I am able to move the cookies. If I wasn't using this dough, using something store-bought or something like that, I would cut it right on the sheet and pull the excess off. But I want to just go ahead and lift this up and move it. It's because the dough is fantastic, but also that the cookie is kind of thick, so it has some consistency, so when you pick it up, it's not flopping all over the place. And that's just regular room temperature, so it's not even like, oh, well, it was a little stiffer because it's cold. No, it's just fabulous dough. So I'm going to put this in the oven for 4 minutes and bake it on 350. When the beeper goes off at 4 minutes, I'm going to fill this well with Jolly Rancher powder and then bake it for another 8 minutes. And then I'm going to let it cool on a wire rack and then decorate the sprinkles at the end when it's all cool. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in. Then when it beeps, I'm going to show you the well filled, and I'll show you the process as we go. So stay tuned. Okay, so the cookie is baked for 4 minutes. I put my powdery Jolly Ranchers in the center, and I'm going to check this. It needs to cook for another 8 minutes, but I'm going to check it in like 4 just to make sure that the well all filled, you don't have any holes all along the edge, just to make sure it's like a perfect thing. I usually take this out and fill it with the Jolly Rancher on the counter, like after it's cool for a second or whatever, and just take my time and fill up the wells. So we'll check it in like 4 minutes, but it needs to bake for a total of 8, and then you'll pull it on a rack and decorate it in the end. So we'll check it in just a moment. Okay, so I've pulled my cookie out. I've pulled it off the parchment paper. It really looks great. I have to say, you can use like Lifesavers and stuff, but the Jolly Rancher is just such a good flavor that it's really nice to use those. I have switched it up. Instead of the crystals, I just like the nonpareils, the way they work better with this look, but you could use the crystals. I'm just gonna use my royal icing in a tube. And what I do is, I just like squeeze a little, and then I just kind of like spread it with the tip all around. Sorry if I'm getting out of frame. And I then just, let me clean that up a little bit. I just dip it into the nonpareils. And scoop it off. And it kind of makes just like a little extra trim. You could do like Jimmy sprinkles. You could even just decorate it with royal icing if you had like a fancy tip and just went all around it and made like little star piping look. I like the nonpareils. I like the way it looks. It looks a little finished. So let me just finish this up here. And once this icing dries, it'll be rock hard, and won't have any problems with the nonpareils coming off. So here's the finished cookie. Could probably use a little more at the top. But there you have it, guys. Hope you've enjoyed this episode of Martha. We're going to do another cookie. We're going to be stamping on it and then maybe doing some more makeup stuff. So if you like what you've seen, please subscribe, leave a comment. Any feedback is great. Hopefully it's kind feedback. And I will see you guys soon.